Wow. That's thunder. Holy shit. I'm awake now. I tied one on last night. I don't normally do that. I don't think I've done that for years. But I woke up this morning and I'm like, I'm really needing my magic mind this morning. Did you hear that? Holy shit, right? I know. That was a big one. I caught it right on video.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. You're gonna like jump through the video. I'm in video, shoot the video time. Yeah, that one was really intense. Thanks for checking on me. Yeah, that one was a doozer. But anyways, we tied one on last night, and I woke up this morning before the thunderstorm. Ooh! Wow! So, I am grateful. I was gonna say I needed my magic mind to wake me up, which I did, and to like make me feel better because I wasn't feeling so good. But I don't need it to wake me up anymore. I'm fully awake with the storm. So, whew, I guess I could say I'm grateful for its immune building skills, but I don't need it to wake me up anymore. Holy crap, this is intense. Welcome to South Carolina. Okay, so here we go, part 2 with this incredible podcast with Magda K, who I can't wait to meet in person one day, and who listen to the rain now. You see the, I guess you can't see because I'm facing this way, but the rain's coming now. Weather. All right, enjoy this podcast. Mwah.
Welcome to Intimate Conversations. Become the one. Intimacy is an inside job. I totally hear you. And I also agree. I sort of see it like a DNA spiral. Like there's like, oh, it's the dark side of the moon. We're going to go through some intensity. And then you kind of come out the other side and it's easy for a while, easier. We just do
and then something happens. Yes.
And then you go around the backside again. Yeah. And then you get another wave of it. I'm very curious about what it is where you were living with other people, communities, the Tantra. What was that all like? I'm fascinated. I've never lived like that. I have a lot of preconceived notions, which I would like to just like let go of and just be curious and pure and open. Tell us what it was like.
So the beauty of these places is that it's like there's intimacy and sensuality in the air. It's incredible. People are so soft, they're in their body. When you meet someone, you actually look into their eyes. There's this moment of connection. When people embrace, they're fully present, versus like in most big cities, you're like, yay, hi, okay,
right.
Bye. Cannot even look into each other's eyes. So over there, you do eye gazing. You have these, they always laugh at it, these long, uncomfortable hugs with the sire, like, right, all of that. But the thing is, as silly and cliche as it may be, it really makes a difference. You have these connections. So something that I found incredible is how deeply you could connect to people that you're seeing for the first time,
right,
because people open their body, and maybe they don't share details from their life, but the energy, the body is open. And so one of the incredible things in that community, keep in mind, I'm talking about a tantric community, so also a very sexual community, but an incredible thing was that, I would have some connections, maybe like 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks, I would go deeper than in some like few month long relationships before.
Right.
Because people they didn't have the walls anymore. You just go straight in. And especially when you practice Tantra, like you have these glimpses of unconditional love. So imagine you're having, you're making love with someone, maybe like it's your first or second date, right? You don't know each other, but you actually get to experience incredible opening of your heart chakra, because the sexual energy goes up and opens it. And so in that moment, you actually really do feel unconditional love. Like you are in love You love that person you're with, even though you don't even know each other. Now, when the energy drops, it's a bit different, right? But in those moments, you have that. And of course, the incredible sense of community, right? So going to for some ecstatic dances or contact dance to sing kirtan. So much, it's all about community coming together. And that was beautiful, so beautiful. Now I will say that, especially in the community in Thailand, now that I'm out, I actually kind of own the fact that it was pretty much a sex cult. I won't lie. So the whole community was polyamorous, and we were encouraged to have multiple lovers, and a few couples that were close, there was almost like a little judgment, as in like, oh wow, they they're too unconscious, they're not able to open up because they're too much, like they're stuck too much in their old patterns and projections, right?
Wow.
Which of course it's not that simple, but that was a bit of like the feel in the community. But it was interesting. I will tell you, I definitely look back at this time, and I'm very grateful that I had an opportunity to be polyamorous and relate openly with multiple people and see, I still remember until today, I'm on the bike with my lover, my partner at the time, and he like, we're riding together, and he like leans kind of towards me and he says, hey, so my friend is interested in you. And I'm just like, how crazy is that, that my partner is literally like helping me to hook up with his friend. But there's just a lot of like this kind of a love and connection. It was like one big family. And I really loved it. I really loved it. It's what opened me up,
Really?
Yeah, it's we're social creatures. We need that. I think there's so much pain coming from the fact that we live in these massive cities, and we lost our tribes. We no longer have communities. And I think there's so much pain that comes from it. So these places around the world that have it, they feel amazing. But I will be honest with you, Allana, they're not all perfect. There is a reason why I no longer live in those communities. Something that people maybe don't necessarily expect is, unfortunately, those places are extremely judgmental. We call it spiritual bypassing, but oh goodness, there's a lot of dogma. There's a lot of judging. Like, for example, I used to be a bit vegetarian, but I eat a lot of meat. I love my steak. Oh goodness, like, they would like to burn me, for that. So there's a lot of like, oh, they're not as conscious because they smoke or they drink. And so I didn't like that. And another thing that I was missing was what you mentioned before, was the masculine energy. I actually wanted to reconnect to my masculine drive. It's like, I still have goals in my life. And while living in these communities is beautiful, I still want to do, I want to hustle. I haven't hustled enough in this life. So this is kind of the downside of those places.
So it's very much, if I'm hearing you correctly, more in whether you're a man or a woman, the feminine expression and pleasure and oneness and joy, but not the masculine presence, drive, impact. So it eventually gets out of balance and turns, the shadow feminine would be the catty, judgmental part of it. I understand.
Yes. And people not really making money, and then it's just more, you turn a little bit into like a couch potato, just a spiritual couch potato.
Right.
Yeah. And honestly, like you could see this, I think it's beautiful to be present. But I remember one of my friends asked me years ago, so Magda, are you always in the present moment? And I was like, no. Imagine me being in the present moment when I drive a car. Like, no, I have to be predicting things. I have to be really, really aware of what may happen next. So in my opinion, it's about kind of moving. Our brain is able to recognize past, present, and future. And it's important that we move between them. So being present is great. But if I'm just present now, well, then what am I going to eat tomorrow, right? How am I going to pay my rent in 3 months? And that energy was missing there.
That makes total sense. And then to take that too far would become the shadow masculine, where we've lost the sacred feminine part. This is beautiful. So what are you creating now, having learned what you learned there, taking, I guess we could say, the best of it and listening to your longing? What are you creating now?
oh, this is such a big question, because I think I'm in the phase of trying to find the answer. So I feel like I feel like there's a lot of things transitioning. So I'm very impatient. I always say, like, patience is a virtue, just not mine. I'm learning to trust, but I have stories, you know. Again, it's in the book. I don't want to go into this in detail, but when I was 16, my dad went bankrupt and we lost everything. And that has really impacted, like, my trust in life, in the masculine, in the divine. So I still have this tendency of wanting to control everything. But I do recognize that there is such a thing as divine timing, and there are certain things that I am not meant to know now, and they're not meant to happen now, even though I really would like that. So I feel like right now I'm in this transition, and I am not meant to know what's going to happen next. So I'm trying to kind of find my place where how much can I let go and just trust, and how much do I need to take action? But a few things that are happening in my life now. So I am trying to find my personal balance between these two worlds. Yes. So when I'm here in the West, and now I don't know if that happens to you, but quite often when I'm here and people ask me, so what do you do? And I tell them what I do, especially men. Women don't have this reaction, but so often men, like, just turn into like a creepy teenager and be like, oh, so what's your best advice? Oh, you know, I'm just like, oh. And I'm just like there listening and waiting for them to stop. But it's this contraction, or even exactly the fact I'm with someone and I'm just like, oh my goodness, can you just show me who you are? Just stop putting on this mask and persona. So there are things where I struggle because they feel too contracted. Yeah. But I don't want to be in those communities anymore. So I'm trying to find my own kind of place of balance where I can kind of have both. Yes. And I haven't fully found it yet, I'll be honest with you. And I think not wanting to be in Poland and still looking for a new home, it's a bit of that. And with the work, I think it's a bit similar too. Because on one hand, my big dream, and this again, for those of you who like astrology, my both Mars and Venus are in Leo. I'm a Virgo, although in the Vedic astrology, I'm a Leo, and goodness, there's so much Leo in me. So I love being on stage, and I've been really focusing on public speaking and building my YouTube channel and the whole PR activities, because ideally what I want to do is make this knowledge available to everyone, make it a bit more like mass knowledge, because when we talk about Tantra, it's so secluded, it's so specific. And again, I meet people and I see how far it is for them. There's just no way they can make this jump. And so all of this keeps these teachings very like unavailable to people. So I want to soften the teachings and share them with everyone. And that's been really my focus for the last 1 or 2 years. You know, I speak a lot at business events, right? And it's so funny because like you have marketers and SEO specialists, and then there is me. And I do have this really good ability to blend these two words. You know, my background is in business. So in theory, I talk about business, but I put all of the tips about intimate relationships and sexuality into those presentations. And that's kind of something I really want to do. I really want this knowledge to be more available to everyone. But then again, it's a bit of, you know, balance. So how far do I want to go? Because I'm actually a very private person. I like how your Zoom is doing that right now. Yes, my Zoom is celebrating. I don't know, by the way, why it does these effects. I don't know how to turn them off. I see.
My staff tries to tell me to stay calm, otherwise it's going to happen.
Just don't move. Yes, and don't do thumbs up, because then you also get some emojis. But one of the things I'm also working on now is I actually will be launching a certification program. Oh, fun. So what I'm finding is that what I experience and learn in this tantric community is really unique. And I have spoken to so many even relationship coaches and sex coaches, and they just don't know about the things that I know or that I've done. To be fair, I have done a lot of things living in that community, but that allows me to be very open and not judge. And I have this, you know, I think similar to you, the energy aspect of sexuality, energy orgasm, sex on chakras. Like there's so much there. And I feel like this is really lacking. Like, I mean, I have a bit of beef with science. I don't have to go in details here, but when I speak to sexologists, I am shocked by what is the understanding of sexuality that they have. It's so limited. And so if a sexologist is not aware of the full potential of human sexuality, then who else can? And so my intention is to help professionals understand that there's way more. There is the spiritual aspect of sexuality, like what exactly intimacy is. And so at the end of the year, I'm going to launch the certification program with the intention of sharing this knowledge. You know, you're probably, sorry, I'm talking a lot now, but
no, it's okay. I just wanted to say one thing.
Role model. Oh, sorry.
There's a little feedback happening. I just wanted to let you know. It just started to go click, click, click for a second. Ooh. So just,
Is it still happening?
No, it's not.
Okay. Oops.
Okay, now we're good. So can you just say that last line again? Because I didn't want to miss anything.
I feel like it's something probably that you feel yourself, but you know, becoming older, it's really less and less about me and more about making sure that this incredible knowledge that I had such an honor and privilege to know and find out and experience, to pass it on. And that's really the intention for the certification, that hopefully other people will be interested in learning this and then spreading it.
I love this. I love this. I wanted to say something, just businesswoman to businesswoman, and then I have a follow-up question. Where I'll be in Estonia is for Mind Valley.
I thought it's going to be this. Do you know that I used to work for Mind Valley?
No. Small world. Wow. I was like, why don't you be a speaker and I'll be a speaker and we'll hang out for a week in Estonia together? Because you want to do speaking. Have you?
Yes, but
you don't want to do
honestly,
that?
when you mentioned Estonia, I was like, oh, in July, I have a feeling it's Mind Valley you.
Yeah. Well, so you don't like to work there anymore, or you're complete with?
Okay, this is off the record.
Yes. Okay.
Later we can chat more.
Later we can chat. Okay, awesome. All right, very, very good. So thank again, so many crazy coincidences and all of this. Super glad that you're creating a certification to share what you know. That even though you've been speaking to coaches or sexologists, et cetera, they still don't know. What would you say is the main misunderstanding or lack of understanding when it comes to energy, spirituality, sexuality, intimacy? What do you see that they don't get?
I think the fact is that most people look at sexuality just on a physical level, and just intimacy doesn't exist on a physical level. It's the incorporation of the energy world and the physical world, right? So how can you have sexuality just on a physical level? It's like it's such a limitation. Yeah. So I do understand that if someone has never done energy work, then it's a bit like, what are you talking about? It's so foreign. But here's how I like to describe it. First, if anyone ever done drugs and you get high, that's it. Like that state of high, it's something that's available to you through different practices, such as breath work. Because think also, when we take either medicine or drugs in whatever scenario you're using it, it doesn't create something that's foreign to your body. It stimulates your body to do something that your body knows how to do. Yeah. Right. So the drug, the medicine serves as a catalyst for that process. Yes. But certain tantric practices can do the same. And so it's that feeling of being high, of that bliss of ecstasy. And if that is still not available to you to kind of grasp, think of being in love, right? Think of being in love. Or here is even better. Think of the times when you laugh. If you think of laughter on the physical level, it's a contraction in your belly, right? There's this kind of funny contraction in your belly. Yeah. But the true laughter, it's about the feeling that you have in your whole body. Totally. If laughter was just about the sensation in your belly, it really wouldn't be so good, right? Yes. And so it's literally same here. If you just look at sex as the physical reaction, the spasm, and even your orgasm, but just on the physical level, just look at the proportion, right? It's like there's so much more. If you allow yourself to laugh, you could say, with your whole body, to feel sexuality with your whole body. Yes. And so it's about engaging that. And I feel there is, I feel like people who go the traditional education path, because in the West, we're all about logic, science. No, all of this doesn't exist. We're still very resistant. There's more and more, which I love, studies that actually show that yoga and tantra, whatever, you know, they used to talk about for centuries, oh, it's actually true. They just didn't name it the way that science does, but we're finding more and more alignment. But a lot of people are really against it. And so if you follow the traditional Western path of learning about sexuality, you're never even going to mention such a thing as energy orgasm. Like, and still until today, some doctors don't believe that we have a G spot. Well, did you know that you have A spot and K spot and P spot? Some doctors believe that kalas, like, you know, female ejaculation is just urine. And we're like, what?
No.
Right? Yeah. And so if you come from that mindset, you will naturally be very limited.
Yes.
And so for me, this is the main problem is like, allow magic in your life. Just life is not just about the physical. There is something more, and you don't have to understand it if you don't want to. So just think this is magic. This is like paranormal activities, but allow that, because this is where true sexuality exists and true intimacy.
I so agree. This is beautiful. There are moments, they're not all the time, but when I touch that, I feel like I'm making love to life. It's just,
yes.
And to me, when I go inward, that's the experience I have. And then it's simultaneously everywhere on the outside as well as the inside. I absolutely love this. So I want to stay in touch so that we can share about your certification. I want to stay in touch in case we run into each other in Europe. I want to get your book. I want to finish perhaps with this idea, for this interview is like, you are the one you've been seeking. So would you be willing to share, are you in a relationship now, or is the main relationship you have you? And where does your own self-pleasure, spiritual oneness practice with your spirit and your body? What does that look like, to give us an idea of what's possible?
Oh, it's like you're opening a Pandora box, but in a good way.
Okay.
I am single at the moment, and I've been single for a few years.
Yeah.
And I've had these thoughts and conversations with my bestie on this topic so much. This idea that she's also single and we're really happy. And of course, there are certain things that you get to experience in a partnership that you don't experience when you're single. But there's also the other way around. There are things you get to experience when you're single that you don't get to experience in a partnership. So it's not like one is better than the other. Essentially, in my opinion, it's about finding your peace and happiness in whatever scenario you are right now in your life. Would I want a partnership? Yes. But unless it's a partnership that really adds value to my life, then I don't want it. And you know, I mean, everyone has their own path. Again, this is the area I would say of like karmic challenges for me, which is probably also why I teach this, because that's usually how it comes together.
Same.
Yes. So I you know, I've had some nice connections and I've had some not so nice connections. And it's when I'm single, I'm really at peace. And I have a very strong relationship to self. And I am very open for a healthy relationship with a man. But again, if it's not healthy, if it's meant to cause me drama and pain, then I don't want it. Because it's like, in a way, you could say I'm in a relationship with myself. And I would need to, I'm not saying like properly, but I would need to like kind of break up with myself to be with someone else. It's not that I lose this relationship with me, but naturally, you know, I'm going to shift my resources onto the partner, right?
Yeah.
And so it has to be worth it. It has to be worth it. And it's something I'm exploring because, again, I'm 38. And of course, we live still in society that's like, oh, you're single. And especially with our line of work, it's like people expect that you should be married and God knows what else. But I think essentially just about feeling that peace and that connection. So this is where this is where I am, and again, it's such an interesting chapter to be exploring this. I've also explored chapters of celibacy, like prolonged celibacy, which I find it funny that I was in a sex cult and then I had few years of no sex, and again, being able to see who I am with or without it, right? Who am I? Like, what is really the essence of this connection to myself? And I'll tell you this, I don't really do any spiritual practices anymore because essentially what I do is I just close my eyes and go within. And I sometimes have a feeling like I kind of miss something more intense, and then I will search for something. But I feel that I've established this connection to myself. And I honestly think that a lot of these tools, they're like a bit like crutches. They help us to learn to walk, but once you walk, you're kind of okay. So I do just a few things, but it's a nonstop awareness. Like, I don't go in or I go out. I am always connected to self. It's just how it is, you know?
Yes.
It's just like you always breathe. I always feel myself. I may choose to not sit with myself and like, you know, the body says something and I'm like, I know you want something. I feel it. Can you give me a day or two? But I always feel it. I always feel it.
Yeah. I love this. I love this. We're so very similar this way. There's, it's like life has become a moving meditation. There's really nowhere I can go where I don't feel or be aware. And there's, things that I'm like, I want to check out, where's my glass of wine? Okay, fine, I'll deal with it tomorrow morning in my morning practice instead. So I'm human. So, but like I guess once you have done enough and there's a tip home, you can't ever not be home again. Or you know how to get home. And it just deepens over time. I love this. And it's very curious. This last relationship, I love him so dearly, and it's not working. And our conscious uncoupling, I think we're actually having more fun being consciously uncoupled than we did together, because there's no pressure and no expectations and no attachment, and I'm leaving. And it really showed me how I was still afraid that he'd break up with me. And now that he's broken up with me, I don't have anything to be afraid of anymore. So I'm like, wow, I still wasn't 100% myself. I was still hiding some expression for fear of rejection. Thank you. Let me look at that. So I'm curious to see what will happen next in terms of relationship. And I think it is a beautiful way for us to be vulnerable and to teach what we're here to learn, and to deal with people's projections of, well, why should I study from you? You're a hot mess. I'm like, well, but I'm willing to lean into the hot mess and integrate it. And I don't need to look perfect to please you. I'm here about coming home to me. And
I still have my things that I'm healing. It's like, you know, I have my past. There are things that I experience that other people haven't, and things that other people experience that I haven't. We all have our past. Like I always say, if there was nothing else for me to heal, I wouldn't be alive. Like what's the point for my soul, right? It's like I'm still working through some karma and some past stories. And some of them I've managed to move through and heal and release. And some are really difficult for me to move through. And, you know, I'm someone, again, based on my childhood, I lean towards an anxious attachment style. I can very easily drop into being a people pleaser. So I know I'm a giver and over giver. And so I also know what it's like to be with someone who's very selfish with my tendencies, because that's just so toxic and destructive. And to be honest, like when you said you still had those fears, I'm like, I don't know if I can fully release that. And it's also okay, because I'm happy I'm making progress. Like I'm just proud of myself for that. But I do believe that when you have a healthy relationship, a lot of like, it's also about not triggering these things unnecessary. So a wrong partner is going to make you feel unsafe nonstop. And that's how I felt in my last relationship. I was nonstop emotionally unsafe. And then, experiencing something where, okay, we both know I may have these tendencies, but we can manage them together. You know, I think there's so much beauty in that. So I do hope to experience this. So yes.
I love this. So I could talk to you for days, and I hope I get to. But for now, I'm going to set you free. MagdaK.com. Her site will be in the show notes. Her book, No More Faking It. Her upcoming certification. You can learn more about her. Follow her on all the social media places. So not from the head or the heart or the hips or the gut or the pussy, but the combination of them all, the wholeness that you are, that you've worked so hard, and you're a work in progress, as am I, as we all are. How would you like to complete this delicious conversation, my love?
Honestly, with a deep breath.
A deep breath. Let's do it.
That's all I want to do. Inhale. Exhale. I just feel like our conversation really put me in my body and it just feels so pleasant.
Oh, thank you. It is so good to be seen and gotten, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What a pleasure. What a pleasure.
See, I only have a crush on great women. I knew this was going to be great.
Well, thank you. I'm very flattered. Very thrilled that we've connected. I feel this will be the first of many connections. So those of you watching or listening, I hope you feel, I hope this, even though I hope you've learned a lot, I hope we've awakened some insights, maybe even triggered some places to have a look and do some work. But most of all, I hope that you felt the love, the playfulness, the depth, the vulnerability of this energy, and may it bathe you for the rest of your day. And may it also inspire you to take an action, whether that action is to go sit in nature, get out your journal, clean up a conversation that you know it's time to clean up, or have that deeper conversation with yourself. May this podcast have been a blessing to your unfolding and your ascension. We're so glad you were with us today. Again, magdak.com. Follow her, learn all about her. And if there's anything I can do in my world, it would be an honor. We have what's called an intimacy breakthrough experience call where we can connect one-on-one. I would love to be real with you, dive in and have a sacred connection if this work is something that speaks to you. So you can find all of that at my site, allanapratt.com. So with that, huge love to you. And thank you for being with us on Intimate Conversations. All my love. See you next week on Intimate Conversations. Get out there and make love to life. I'm heading out of town for 2 back-to-back PSIs. Got the paddleboard on the roof. Got all the little bit of food. Then I'm going to stop at Trader Joe's on the way and get a bunch of fresh vegetables and things. I'm reminded of what you just had the pleasure of watching with Magda and I, that we are women learning to balance, find that exquisite balance between our feminine expression, our sensuality, and our masculine energy, the structure, the presence, the offerings we want to give and impact humanity with, and that we're still a work in progress. I don't think we'll ever get there. I love that she's vulnerable that way. I love that she's willing to give what she's learned, developing a curriculum. I love that she's celebrating the 1-year anniversary of her book, No More Faking It. So when I think about no more faking it, and the different centers that the interview part 1 and part 2 spoke of, you know, through our mind, through our hearts, through our hips, through our gut, through our yoni, all these different centers, and the wisdom that these different centers hold, and the balance of that as well. So masculine, feminine energy balance, but also balance through all of our different wisdom centers in our bodies. Being conscious it's a thing. It's a thing. So thank you for dealing with my Waze lady talking to me in the background as I'm shooting this video, driving out of town. So I encourage you to get her book. I encourage you to follow her on Instagram. I encourage you to be in her world so that when she launches her curriculum, you can learn what she's learned from her path and take into consideration these different wisdom centers within your body. I just gotta go straight, not turn left. Okay, we're all good. And also, if this conversation about what's in the way of emptying me out, integrating enough of my wounds so that I'm a vessel through which the divine can have its way with me, and you can experience this level of embodiment, listening, surrender, and empowerment, then I would love to connect with you. I would love to share more about what my Allana Pratt method processes, these PSI journeys that I provide, and this beautiful community that I've have the pleasure of cultivating and walking with every week. I invite you to book an Intimacy Breakthrough Experience call. You can find the link and a scholarship for being a listener of this podcast in the show notes. And then lastly, by the time you hear this, I think I will be in Estonia or maybe even Australia. And I just heard, you heard in the podcast, I'm like, come on, come to Estonia, come play with me. Well, I was at this point successful. So we are WhatsApping about how we can connect and play together. And this is life. When we show up, we meet our like-minded, like-hearted, like-souled soul family. And we get to play together. We get to create together. So I'm really excited to meet her in person and play. Life is so good. Life is so good. Show up for the miracle of it all. I love you so much. And thank you for being with us every single week here on Intimate Conversations.